Okay, time for the daily reminder that the world's most prolific pedophile that peddled kids had an island, had a... so what does the word... Jesus, what does the word Lolita mean? Where does the term lolly get derived from? I wonder. Well, what would you say about a guy that had an airplane called the Lolita Express? Little girl, wow. Well, let's see here. Let's look this up real quick. What does the word mean? It means a precociously seductive girl. Has meanings depending on the context. A feminine name and the Virgin Mary. Common modern usage refers to a young girl who is precociously seductive, sexually attractive, and behaves in a mature way, typically being viewed as an older person. This usage stems directly from Nabokov's novel and carries connotations of an underage sexualization. Well, we had a guy that named his airplane after that. And somehow, he didn't have any connection to anybody else.
This is the worst cover-up of my lifetime, the Ep case. The reason I'm talking about it so much is because if you can get away with this...
It is, yes, exactly. It is a litmus test.
You really can get away with anything. If the government can tell people to not believe what they just said a few months ago and have everyone be fine with that, that's just a level of gaslighting that I refuse to be a part of.
Yep.
Never forget, they just promised us names in the release of the Epstein files.
Breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released.
Yep. What kind?
A lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information.
But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret.
Coffee said nothing during Joe Biden's 4 years. He's a partisan hack. I think that it's fair to criticize Joe Biden for not talking about this, but it's also fair to say that Joe Biden didn't run on the platform of declassifying this. I think both things are true.
Been held accountable.
Yeah, well, apparently there are no names to be given. No list, no blackmail. Epstein has now been pushed as a lone trafficker. It's the lone trafficker theory, guys. Essentially, the government's memo that they just released contradicts everything we've seen before, and now basically implies that Epstein was trafficking to himself.
Right.
And Ghislaine Maxwell was trafficking to Epstein, and there was no other blackmail or trafficking going on.
Nobody had any idea that this was happening at all. Nobody knew. Nobody was part of it. It was just him. Wow, that's crazy.
His wealth and his power then would be just from his skill as a New York financier.
I'm talking about Jeff Epstein, the New York financier.
Basically, he was the world's greatest tax advisor by day, the world's greatest trafficker at night to himself, and the rich and powerful people who all flocked to him and to his island had no idea of this double life. That really is kind of the heart of the modern theory, is that just all Epstein by himself, and then his friends just were there for his tax advice. Despite not being a tax professional.
Yeah, they flew to his island on the Lolita Express so they could get advice on their taxes. What the f is going on?
Not only that, another huge revelation.
Oh my
is the
God.
fact that really the government has increased the number of victims and decreased the number of perpetrators, right?
Logical entropy.
Now we got pretty clear statements that there isn't evidence to bring future cases on third parties. But if you look at the original 2019 indictment, it says dozens of victims. This is from Ken Klippenstein. But the Epstein review says over 1,000 victims.
Wow, that's a pretty big difference. How'd that happen? Over 1,000 people, it was all just one guy. That's crazy.
So what happened, guys? And by the way, in the interim, they also increased the number to 200 to 250.
200 victims. 200. So we have well over 250, actually.
So we went from dozens to 200 to over 1,000.
And here's the thing. These inconsistencies are very well documented. Everybody understands them. They have this account. And if you pull up this account right here, so this rapid response account constantly goes around and they clarify and correct and communicate different types of misinformation that's being spread. Why aren't they doing that with these files? If there are so many of these misconceptions going around and it would be so easy to clear them up, why is it that you keep disproving this bullshit, but you can't seem to do any time doing the disproving of the important thing? I wonder why. There's no mainstream coverage of this. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter because the videos of this content are getting more views than the mainstream media.
In the span of basically a year, in terms of victims, we like 10x the number of victims, but now there's no perpetrators. Like the perpetrators have been reduced. That is the crazy thing about what they're implying here, what this lone trafficker theory is pushing forward. It's also strange because previously Epstein, in a court filing, is said to have provided information to the FBI as agreed upon. Case agent advised that no federal prosecution will occur in this matter as long as Epstein continues to uphold his agreement with the state of Florida.
And what agreement
so apparently
is that?
There was some deal where Epstein was providing information to the FBI. What information?
So why don't we know that? Why don't we know that? I feel like that's kind of a pretty big one, huh? That's a pretty big one. Wow. Damn.
We don't know because no one else was involved. There's also the simple fact that if you go to the FBI records, what they call the vault, most of the files are just heavily redacted. So the idea that we got some transparency wave is literally a joke.
Well, it is transparent because you can see right through the text into the white background. The text is 100% transparent.
Yes, it is true. There's Epstein list where there's like names written down.
They weren't lying.
But names exist in documents, on videos, in images, and they're all redacted. What's going on here? They're going to say, oh, it's all for the victims, right? But it's not all victim names. In addition to that, this lone trafficker theory is already on shaky grounds when you think about Prince Andrew's settlement with Virginia Giuffre, where he paid $16 million to make civil sexual assault.
So there's civil sexual assault allegations, and who's that in the background? Oh, that's right. That's the woman in jail for trafficking women to Jeffrey Epstein. Huh. What are the odds? That's crazy. Wow.
$1 million to make civil sexual assault allegations go away. Now, of course, it's worth saying that he did not admit to guilt. This was a settlement.
True, but come on. Come on, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Yes, it is true. There's what you're always going to have with these rich and powerful people.
Yeah.
In the same way, you also have Leon Black, who reportedly paid $158 million over 5 years to Jeffrey Epstein for tax advice.
So he paid $158 million approximately for what Black contends was services rendered and values received. Well, the problem is that about what services that was. That's the issue. It's about what services rendered. What does that mean? Was it tax advice or was it something else?
And guess what? Leon Black, billionaire, also paid the U.S. Virgin Islands $62 million in cash as part of a settlement, a non-prosecution, where they wouldn't go after him for anything from, quote,
do you remember what I said yesterday about how when you have $100 million, you unlock a new talent tree, and whenever you have $1 billion, you unlock an extra multi-classing ability? You know, everybody, oh, you're closer to Donald Trump or these billionaires than we are. I don't think you realize the levels that these guys fucking operate at. This is insane.
Any and all claims of any nature whatsoever, specifically related to Jeffrey Epstein. It's worth noting that $15 million of this cash payment will be going to counseling programs and activities or mental health services. You also have Jess Staley, the former boss of Barclays. He directly admitted to having sex with a member of Epstein's staff.
Which one? This is what I think Trump should do. This is my best case scenario. Trump releases all of the files, all of the names, all of the people, redacts the victims, and just says, yeah, we're not really sure which ones of them are files and which ones aren't. Yeah, we don't know. Just straight up. That would be, yes, the purge, yes.
I just have to say that there was a statement that this was entirely consensual, and I'm not saying anything about that. I'm simply saying the idea that Epstein was just trafficking for himself is unlikely to be true, in my opinion. Later, Staley wrote to Epstein, "Say hi to Snow White." Epstein replied, "What character would you like next?" Staley responded, "Beauty and the Beast." And then Jeffrey Epstein said, "Well, one side is available."
Again, the title of this video is "The Worst Cover-Up of My Lifetime." This is crazy. They're not even trying. They're not. That's what's so insane about this. They're not even trying.
Obviously, some type of coded message. You can read into that for yourself. But all of this is public. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what makes the government's memo so infuriating. Is so much reporting has already been done. These settlements with powerful figures under denials, yes, but also under very questionable circumstances, make just a complete denial and statement that all of this was just Epstein impossible to believe. In September 2009, Epstein also emailed a woman named Irina to tell her that Jess Staley is staying in the Berkeley Hotel in London tonight. Staley emailed Epstein the next day to say, "I should have taken your offer."
What the fuck is going on? This is insane. Who is Trump so scared of in the world that he's scared to release the files? I don't think that he's scared. I don't think scared is the word. I think that he doesn't want to release the files because it will implicate potentially himself and other people that he's aligned with and friends with. I think, though, Trump should realize at this point, bro, you survived an assassination attempt. If there is any point that, like, you have some sort of authority to just do the right thing, the fact that you are alive says that. Two of them? Well, the second one wasn't direct, to be fair. And there's probably like 50 of them that we just didn't even hear about. So, Petrified, yeah, just fucking do it, man. You shouldn't even be alive right now. Just do it. Oh, but it's gonna ruin all my friends' lives. That sucks. Too bad. Do it anyway. Fuck them.
There's also this book by one of the 60 Minutes correspondents called A Ticking Clock.
I think your assumptions are wrong.
Where he says that he met with Ghislaine Maxwell, and he said, "I want the tapes," I said to Maxwell at a table at Regency Bar. "I know he was videotaping everyone. I want the tape of Trump with the girls." She didn't deny the existence of the tapes, but said, "I don't know where they are."
I don't know where they are implies they exist.
Apparently replied, "Ask Epstein," and she gave him a stern look and pointed a finger at my face. "I'm the daughter of a press baron. I know the way you people think. If you do one side, you must do the other. If you get tapes on Trump, you have to do Clinton." Now,
great idea. These conditions are acceptable. You're telling me we get 2 in 1? Oh my God. I didn't think we could be so lucky.
Again, what you make of a third-hand source like this, talking to Ghislaine Maxwell, who apparently doesn't deny that some of these tapes exist. Was she even telling the truth or just playing some game? Either way, this was all known about, not just by people after the fact, but allegedly by people during the fact. This is from Mark Epstein. It's sourced from Jeffrey Epstein. Quote, "If I said what I know about both candidates, they'd have to cancel the election."
This is Jeffrey Epstein's brother. What the f is going on? How is this happening? This is so obvious, so dark shit happens. Why are we so surprised? The issue isn't that it happens. I'm not, like, yes, stuff like Jeffrey Epstein has been happening ever since the dawn of time. But it's the fact that it's happening in plain view and it's being protected. I'm not upset. In a way, I'm upset that it happened. It sounds bad to say that I'm not upset that it happened. Of course it's bad that it happened. But the real conversation here is about why it's not being dealt with, basically.
So not even Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly were claiming this was all just between them. They were constantly insinuating that there were compromising things on various powerful people.
Why can't we make these people testify? Why can't we make them give up the names? I don't understand why we don't do that. Fifth Amendment, the right to avoid self-incrimination, to testify against themselves. This isn't about themselves. Yeah, they can't self-report. That's fine. If we can't force them to testify, there's no way that this was happening completely domestically, which means that there are probably other countries in the world that we could extradite them to that don't have the Fifth Amendment. Now, what would I do? Russia, wherever. This is what's so annoying about this. You're telling me the CIA and Guantanamo Bay was able to make those clowns stand on boxes looking like scarecrows while they're being electrocuted. You can waterboard people. You can torture them nonstop. But the only people that you can do this to are a bunch of random fucking terrorists in the Middle East. And we can't do it to one of the most prolific human traffickers of all time. Really? This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Where is the dark CIA? Where's the deep state when you need them? It's bullshit. The pussies. Yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe this is too far. That sounds like bullshit to me. The one time we need them.
Funny is that Trump himself, even before he was in a position to declassify this stuff, had accused other powerful people of doing these things.
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island.
Why would you say this?
That island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew.
You also have the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was in touch with other convicted pedophiles.
How convenient. Wow. Also, the problem is being on a flight log alone doesn't prove anything, and people's speculations alone also bring no consequence. Then release everything. In my opinion, this might sound like, again, I do think that the way that I solve most problems is very barbaric, but I think it works. When you have an infection on a limb, sometimes you can't cure the infection and you have to sever the entire limb, even though there are cells inside of that limb that are not infected. Put out the information, put it all out, don't redact anybody's name, and sever the limb. That's what I think they should do.
So the idea, once again, that he was just by himself, off by himself, doing things on his island by himself, and then taking calls with people like Bill Gates simply for philanthropic advice, really pushes the bounds of belief. Forget a close associate of Bill Gates was named a fallback executor on the will of Jeffrey Epstein, which he, by the way, said he was shocked by and he deeply regrets, meaning Epstein.
Wow.
Bill Gates has said similar things to that effect. Of course, Bill Gates fraternized with Epstein after he was convicted of crimes. Previously, he told the Wall Street Journal, "I didn't have any business relationship or friendship with him." But in fact, he met multiple times with him at his Manhattan townhouse.
Once. Wait. Oh, Coffee, you didn't read the next sentence. Once staying late into the night. Gentlemen, I think we may have a problem here. And I think we might have a little bit of a situation.
Now, once again, I have to say real quick, all of these people are innocent until proven guilty. All of them deny doing anything untoward.
That's true. They are innocent. That's right. And I think that they're so innocent that they should come forward and testify in front of Congress, in front of everybody, televised, and just lay it all out. Did we really make the Patriot Act for nothing? Like, don't we get to cash in on our deep state surveillance state stuff? Like, you have all these logs, you have all of these phone recordings, you tapped everybody's phones, you've got everybody's internet logs, you've got everything. Just put it out there.
But my point is, there are already too many associations to make the lone trafficker theory make any sense. For example, Jean-Luc Brunel was somebody who apparently trafficked a bunch of people to Epstein, who himself abused a bunch of women and even was charged for it. He was charged for some really awful things, and then
drugging and raping a 17-year-old girl. I see. And then on February, Brunel was found dead in his jail cell, and then he allegedly killed himself. Huh. Wow. I'm sure not noticing a pattern here.
Interestingly,
oh, wow.
Epstein was actually a financier of Brunel's modeling agency, where a lot of this alleged abuse happened. So once again, the idea of the lone trafficker just doesn't make sense, because Epstein's directly linked to another guy who is also abusing women.
Yes.
So after all of this, they're really asking you to believe the unbelievable. They're asking you to not believe what they've said about this case, both out of office and now in power. They're asking you to not believe public reporting linking Epstein to other known They're asking you not to believe suspicious circumstances regarding settlements of powerful people. They're asking you to believe that Epstein was just the greatest tax advisor and financial advisor on the planet that all of these billionaires needed to consult, despite the fact that there are entire organizations built around providing the same service.
And also, by the way, here's a really good way to look at it. If Epstein was so good at doing their taxes and they needed Epstein to do their taxes, then why didn't they start paying more taxes after Epstein died? It's just so stupid. How are people... Oh my God, that's interesting? Yeah, duh.
They're asking you to believe that when people are talking about Snow White and Beauty and the Beast, they're referencing Disneyland. And they're especially asking you to believe that they have found 900 new victims since reviewing these files and exactly 0 new perpetrators. So,
what are the odds? I think this is the reason why people are so angry about this. Blatant disrespect to the intelligence of the public. That anybody could even for a second believe any of this is not just total fucking bullshit. It's insulting. It is.
I'm just not buying it personally. I find it insulting.
I'm just not. Yeah.
To the intelligence of every single person.
Yeah. I agree. He's a smart guy. Look at that. Wow. How about that?
Who's ever looked at this story.
Yes.
And yeah, it really makes me feel like this was a
crime is
appropriate time to launch a crime is legal merch collection, to be honest.
Good one.
So yeah, this is probably my last video on this for a while, but just disgusting.
It won't be mine. I'll tell you that. And this is outrageous. Give CoffeeZilla some support. I really like this guy. It's his second channel. And yeah, this is great. I do think, by the way, there is a way to force this into happening. I do. And before you think that it's impossible, you can do anything that you want if you can get enough people together. Anything that you want. You can change the entire Constitution. So just get more people together.